Welcome back to month 3 of Moving Through Menopause, and we're going to focus on pelvic floor this month. So I'm going to start with talking about what the pelvic floor is and where we can find it. We're then going to look at the pelvic floor, in particular during perimenopause and menopause, and also post-menopause, because obviously that's the way it's going to be for forever afterwards. We're going to look at the cause of pelvic floor issues that you may or may not encounter. And then we're going to look at healthy pelvic floor strategies. So how we can improve our pelvic floor health, how we can maintain a good, healthy pelvic floor, and then we put it into practice. So enjoy. There's a yoga flow to match this as well. So we have a yoga flow that will actually complement what you're learning during this month and will enable you to strengthen your pelvic floor. Enjoy. So let's talk about pelvic floor anatomy. When I did my first Moving Through Menopause yoga workshop, I started to talk about pelvic floor, and then I made the assumption that everybody knew what I meant. But actually, we all have very different views of what the pelvic floor entails. If you see everything that's in the media, the press, the adverts these days, it's very much focused on leaky bladder, stress incontinence, peeing your pants. And actually, that's wrong because there's so much more to it. If you can see the diagram, you can see the pelvic floor muscles start from, you've got them at the pubic bone, right at the front where your bladder is. They come all the way down past the vagina and then all the way to the sacrum, your tailbone. And kind of connecting into things like your sacroiliac joints. So you can see that it spans not just front to back, but side to side, which is why it makes sense that if one area is tight, it can create tension in the other area. If your pelvis is rotated, it can create tension in one particular area. So the first thing I want to highlight is the pelvic floor covers bladder, vagina, and bowel. So when I'm talking about pelvic floor today, we're not just covering peeing yourself. We're covering looking after, making sure that you have a strong functional muscle through the whole area to allow that area to be supported in whatever activities you do. So let's talk about the functions of the pelvic floor. So many of these you're probably quite aware of. So you have the support of the pelvic organs, that hammock of muscle holding your pelvic organs in place. You have bladder control and bowel control, so having control, not peeing or pooping yourself. You have passing of urine and feces, so allowing yourself to get rid of toxins by peeing or pooping. We have sexual function. You have pregnancy and childbirth, obviously. And then the thing that a lot of people don't really think about is also breathing. So your diaphragm is connected directly into your core muscles. Your core muscles are connected into your pelvic floor. So as you breathe in and out, your pelvic floor will move up and down. It's part of the breathing process as such. So it's important to note the connection between your breath and the pelvic floor. One of the things when I do pelvic floor workshops with yoga is the first thing I do is I get people breathing properly. Because if you're not breathing properly, then the diaphragm isn't going to be moving up and down, connecting with the core. The core is not going to be lifting the pelvic floor up and down. So if you're not breathing properly, your pelvic floor is less likely to be functioning properly. So just hold that in your mind as we go through this, because I'm going to bring this back.